Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. Welcome back. Got a couple of adjustments to make. I see still. Let's see. I don't know. Well, we tried to. Can I be heard? Is my microphone? Is everything working? Can I be heard? Let's get that out the way first. All right. Can I be heard? Can I be heard? Is my microphone coming through? Want to get that? Oh, we hear you. All right. Finally. So I guess we can. Is it an echo? Cause I kind of hear a little reverb in my headphones, but that might not be what you hear. Okay, Mrs. O says no, sounding nice and clear to you guys, and I'll fix what I'm hearing on my end a little bit later, as long as it's good quality audio to the audience. Okay, so I guess we can say this is a special edition of Surreal Sundays because this is Monday. Last night we tried to broadcast and ran into some major technical difficulties, and I had a lot of information to go over, and I didn't want it to the topics that I was going over to be to to be more saturated than it is currently. By the time that we broadcast next week, in my belief, I would have I will assume or think that the topics are too saturated. You know, most of us have ADHD and is on to the next um, topic at that time, and this would have been um, old news, so to speak. So, why it's um, somewhat fresh, we're gonna go ahead and cover it. Today is uh, 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 Hellenized Day, which is Memorial Day. I say Hellenized because that's what Esau, I guess that's the wrong term, but as far as Hellenized. But as far as this is a one of uh, the nation's holidays, and most of us is off work, so was a prime time to rebroadcast the show or try to attempt to. So Yeah, I went through quite a bit trying to get this back together. I had to um, take out or remove my broadcasting software and then reinstall it in order to get my audio back. So we're here now. Let's go ahead and rock it today. This afternoon, we're going over Tory Lanez. He had to get transferred to another facility due to the stabbing that he experienced. Then we're going to go off into a topic that uh, 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 gained some attention this past last week. Black fatigue. Okay, we're gonna go into the historical or definition of it and what some may view it today, and go over that. And let's see what else we got on here. We got the update on a Frisco track meet meeting. Um, we're gonna go over the what the coroner had discovered in the elimination of Ryan Hinton. Okay, and then we got some information. We don't get political on the Real Talk with Mrs. O channel or Surreal Sundays, but we got a little information on the political side we just want to put out there. Um, and I think it's great news because I would love certain things um, not to be taxed anymore. So we're going to go over that. Um, of course, we got this week's tidbit in health. And let's see what here. We got some material to go over for Snatch Shenanigans, that hot video. So without any further ado, let's get it.
You are now listening to some old school shit.
All right. Testing, testing. Testing, testing. All right. Yeah. Try to get some new gear for the show. I got this stream deck, and it's caused more of a headache than convenience. It is some getting used to with some new buttons and what have you, but then there's some quirks within its software that is irritating, for lack of a better words. Can't, but it does have some benefits. But yeah, it is irritating. Well, before we get into the material, let's see who we have in the house. Let's check it out. All right. We got A-Team. A-Team is in the house. Yeah. All right, A-Team is in the house. Mrs. O. Mrs. O is in the house. Yeah. What it do, boo? Yeah, all right. And okay, promote conscious parenting with the Harrises. Mr. He said and she said they are in the house. Yeah. All right, all right. The tribe is in the house. Yeah. All right. So now that we had a little fun, I wanted to play with the button a little bit, but this is what we do before we get into it. Like to acknowledge everyone that has shown up for the show. We appreciate and love you guys for that thing. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. From News Nation, we have Tory Lanez's father, and he's going to go into part of what's going on in that case. Let's get it.
Chris, thank you very much, Chris. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Well, listen, this is the job, is to make sure that there is fairness under law in this situation. And with your son,
Yes.
There's now a question mark. And you're not a lawyer. That's not why I'm talking to you. My understanding is it's gotten bad enough for him on the inside after this stabbing that it is a miracle that he survived, that now he's being moved as we speak. Is that true, sir? And what does that mean to you?
Yes, that is correct. It's one of the things we've been concerned about, but he's being moved because it's a part of the prison's protocol. That when a situation like this happens, I think they believe it's better for him to be in another facility, and so he is being moved as we speak. One of the things, of course, we're concerned about is because my son is a high-profile person, and when things like this happen, there's always some kind of weird news going out trying to spin it to be something else. You know, maybe he went crazy in the prison and they moved him. You know, there's a lot of stuff that happens, but the truth being that he is being moved right now as we speak, and we have concerns because, number one, he has just been discharged not many days ago from the hospital, and he was discharged with 14 stab wounds, an incident that collapsed his lungs that, again, thankfully, he is recovering, he's doing well, but now he has to take a 3-hour ride, and he is the victim in this situation. Those are the things that really concern me. He is the victim. He never provoked this incident in prison, and anybody that knows him, in fact, I've met many people going there to visit him, my wife and I, that will tell you that he is someone who is liked. He's not someone who's a troublemaker. I was with the COs, the correctional officers, in the hospital where he was taken after this incident, and the COs spoke to me. They said when they heard on the intercom that they had to transport somebody to the hospital, it was him. The guy looked at me and said, why him, of all people? Because he doesn't do anything like that, you know, to warrant these kinds of things.
Well, listen, Mr. Peterson, we're going to stay on it. Not out of any deference to your son. I'm new to this story, but there's something about it that doesn't smell right. And we're going to stay on it until we figure out what this is really about and that justice is served here. And I hope he is safe, no matter which way it comes out. And we're a call away if we can help you with any concerns you have, okay?
All right. So I hope you was able to get the gist of that conversation. I just got feedback that the background music was competing with the video audio. Were you able to understand what was going on in the video? If not, it's a 3-minute video. We can replay it again. Could the audience understand what they were talking about in this video? Okay. Could you hear what the father was saying in the video? If not, I can replay it again. All right, we're going to go ahead and move along. So, in summary, father saying it's protocol when an incident like this happens. We don't understand why he experienced this. He was liked. Excuse me. He was liked. So, there's some confusion on why he experienced this after there has been some resurfacing. Some say it's new evidence and what have you, but there's some resurfacing of evidence that was already presented, and why this evidence, as substantial as it still is, why didn't it have the weight to persuade the decision in Tory Lanez's favor? What am I talking about? That brings up the next video.
2022.
Rep Luna says she has new evidence. Okay. So let's check out what's going on with that.
I could give a damn about Jay-Z or his company. This just wasn't a case on my radar until now. Why? Anna Paulina Luna. She is a representative from Florida. You see her here on a regular basis. She says she's got new evidence, says it wasn't him. And she joins us now. Representative APL, it's good to have you.
Thanks, Chris. Happy to be back on. And thanks for taking a look at this case.
No, listen, you tell me to take a look at it, I'll look at it. But why did you look at it? I mean, this isn't your jurisdiction. I don't know you to have any connection to any of these people.
Yeah, so as you know, we are on oversight and accountability. And so this case was actually initially flagged for me by Amber Rose. And the reason why I took a particular interest in it is because of the fact that they actually had evidence that they presented to me in my office that actually disproved the conviction. So as you stated earlier, that 0.01% of DNA, they actually found 4 people's DNA on that firearm, none of which was Tory's. Not to mention there was 0 fingerprints on the actual magazine. And also, too, as you said, 0.01% chance. I mean, that evidence in itself should pretty much speak for itself. Also, there's been ring footage that's been obtained that actually disproves the whole dance Megan. And so what we're seeing is really there was a case of he said, she said. The evidence wasn't actually respected and properly adhered to actually in the trial. And then they also were doing something that I would find pretty wild and egregious. They're actually submitting his lyrics for rap as evidence to the crime. So look, first and foremost, you have to have a free and fair society. That means we need to respect and uphold the justice system. So I actually reached out today to Gavin Newsom's office, and we are requesting an emergency meeting. We're also working with other Democrats, specifically to the California delegation. But I think that this is something that's pretty egregious, that the way that this was handled, the way that it was. I think that it was largely driven by headlines. And aside from the people involved and the parties involved, obviously I take domestic violence, I take this very seriously, Chris, but I also take very seriously the fact that I do believe, based on the evidence that I've seen, that Tory's innocent. And I think that it sets a really bad message when you have someone of his stature, and also to someone that is as influential as he is, that's being wrongfully incarcerated. And that's exactly why we wanted to use our megaphone for a good reason and help get him his pardon, which I think he'll get.
So Luna, who did it? I mean, she says, and her friends say, that he did it, and who else would have done it, and what proof do you have to support that? I get it. Maybe they didn't make the case the right way with the weapon, but who did it?
You know, Chris, that's not for me to weigh in, and that's definitely for the judge and the jury. But what I will tell you is, based on the evidence that we have, the evidence that we have says that he wasn't the guy. And so I do think that Gavin Newsom has some great attorneys that will look at this. But I'd also like to point out that the prosecutor specifically on this case that initially brought the charges is a very interesting prosecutor. Look into who.
So, from what I'm hearing, there was a video that says that solidifies or confirms that it wasn't Tory Lanez that fired the pistol. In addition to, I didn't fact check the following statements, but you can. It wasn't a bullet that entered her foot, Meg's foot. It was shards of glass. And what have you. So I went over to my new friend called ChatGPT. And what ChatGPT does is scour the entire internet to answer your questions that whatever you ask. And then it gives you the answers and gives you the references. So I want you to meet my friend ChatGPT. On the night of July 12th, 2020, Meg, the male horse, was involved in an argument with Tory Lanez. Okay. The dispute reportedly began over Meg's desire to leave the party. Tensions escalated. It came out that Meg and Lanez was involved in front of the current Kelsey Harris. She was the official fornicating partner of Tory Lanez. We don't do girlfriends and boyfriends on this side of the fence. If you are not married and you are involved in a sexual relationship with someone that you are not married to, you two are fornicating partners. That's the new name for that. We're going to stop using boyfriend and girlfriend. We're going to use fornicating partners because that's what it is. Now, the known official fornicating partner Kelsey Harris found out that Meg and Tory Lanez was intimate as well. Okay, so that pretty much was the basis or it became the basis of the altercation. It says as Meg walked away from the SUV, Lanez allegedly leaned out the vehicle and shouted, "Dance, bitch," before firing multiple shots at her hooves, causing injuries that required surgery. Dance, bitch. God. During the subsequent trial, Harris provided conflicting accounts. This is where it gets interesting. While Harris testified that she did not witness the shooting, prosecutors presented a recorded interview in which Harris stated that she saw Lanez shooting Meg. Additionally, Harris sent text messages shortly after the incident reading, "Help, Tory shot Meg 9/11." In December, Tory was convicted of 3 felony accounts. And so there's some rumors going on that it was actually Harris that did the popping. And now we have Miss Luna, Representative Luna, saying that there's new evidence in this saga. We'll rewind this a bit and revisit the information.
Rapper Tory Lanez, convicted of shooting performer Megan Thee Stallion after a party at the Hollywood Hills home of Kylie Jenner. Here's the story. They're at the party. After the party, they get into an argument. Lanez tells Megan Thee Stallion, "Dance," and shoots at her feet like a cowboy movie.
Bitch.
Hits her. Proof? Testimony of Megan Thee Stallion, her friend Kelsey Harris, and DNA evidence on the weapon that convinced jurors to convict. Pretty simple, right? Maybe not. Turns out that DNA, only a 0.01% chance that the DNA is from Lanez. He's always maintained his innocence. He was
No DNA on the weapon.
Yeah, so as you know, we are on oversight and accountability. And so this case was actually initially flagged for me by Amber Rose. And the reason why I took particular interest in it is because of the fact that they actually had evidence that they presented to me in my office that actually Yeah, so as you know, we are on.
I could give a damn about Jay-Z or his company. This just wasn't a case on my radar.
Disprove the conviction. So as you stated earlier, that 0.01% of DNA, they actually found 4 people's DNA on that firearm, none of which was Tory's. Not to mention there was 0 fingerprints on the actual magazine. And also too, as you said, 0.01% chance. I mean, that evidence in itself should pretty much speak for itself. Also, there's been ring footage that's been obtained that actually disproves the whole dance, Megan. And so what we're seeing is really there was a case of he said, she said. The evidence wasn't actually respected.
So there's ring camera footage of the incident that conflicts with the dance bitch story.
Properly adhered to actually in the trial. And then they also were doing something that I would find pretty wild and egregious. They were actually submitting his lyrics for rap as evidence to the crime. So look, first and foremost, you have to have a free and fair society. That means we need to respect and uphold the justice system. So I actually reached out today to Gavin Newsom's office, and we are requesting an emergency meeting. We're also working with other Democrats, specifically to the California delegation. But I think that this is something that's pretty egregious, that the way that this was handled, the way that it was. I think that it was largely driven by headlines. And aside from the people involved and the parties involved, obviously I take domestic violence, I take this very seriously, Chris, but I also take very seriously the fact that I do believe, based on the evidence that I've seen, that Tory's innocent. And I think that it sets a really bad message when you have someone of his stature, and also to someone that is as influential as he is, that's being wrongfully incarcerated. And that's exactly why we wanted to use our megaphone for a good reason and help get him his pardon, which I think he'll get.
So Luna, who did it? I mean, she says, and her friends say, that he did it, and who else would have done it, and what proof do you have to support that? I get it. Maybe they didn't make the case the right way with the weapon, but who did it?
You know, Chris, that's not for me to weigh in, and that's definitely for the judge and the jury. But what I will tell you is, based on the evidence that we have, the evidence that we have says that he wasn't the guy. And so I do think that Gavin Newsom has some great attorneys that will look at this. But I'd also like to point out that the prosecutor specifically on this case that initially brought the charges is a very interesting prosecutor. Look into who ran him. And at the end of the day, you know, I think Hollywood, as you know, Chris, and politics does overlap, and there's a lot of interesting stuff that happened there. So look at the evidence for yourself. We've posted it for the entire world to see, to determine for themselves. And I know that Tory's legal team actually has an incredible never happened to anyone.
Okay, so Rep. Anna Paulina Luna spoke with Tory Lanez from inside the prison. Despite being stabbed multiple times, his spirit remains unbroken. He's deeply grateful for the opportunity to prove his innocence. The question now, when will @CA governor finally review the case and pardon him? So we appreciate the efforts of Representative Anna Paulina Luna. All right. So with all that's going on with Tory Lanez, the main objective of Surreal Sundays is to review the shenanigans that is happening within our community. And then we always are going to pose the question afterwards, how could this have been prevented? And then we always go back to the scripture. And the main theme or what have you. The main the main thing, for lack of better terminology as of right now, is what if Tony Lanez just followed the law, statutes, and commandments? Would he be in this situation? And then we're going to review what commandments could have been followed and he wouldn't have been involved with or been in this situation. He wouldn't even been in that place at that time. But before we do, I was really interested at um, what was going on with Tory Lanez. So I'm gonna pull up that. We're gonna switch over to that. Kind of cutting off some of it. There. That moves that over. Let's magnify that a little bit more so the people can see it. Bring that down. All right. So I asked my good friend Chat GPT, was Kelsey Harris and Tory Lanez intimate? And according to the Shade Room, yes, Kelsey Harris and Tory Lanez were involved in an intimate relationship prior to July 2020 shooting. During the trial, Harris testified that Megan introduced her to Lanez, and they began a romantic relationship. They became they became romantically involved. Let's see. However, Megan also, Megan allegedly started a fornicating partnership with Lanez herself. The revelation led to significant tensions between the two whores, and Harris discovered the affair during an argument in the SUV. Both Harris and Megan confirmed during the trial that they had intimate relationships with Lanez, that overlapping relationships were central to the events of that night and contribute to the breakdown of Harris and Meg's friendship, according to Hip Hop DX. Trying to get back to where I was at. All right. So this is a timeline that I had my good friend Chat GPT create for me. So we got Raina. I'm not even going to attempt that last name. Anyway. Shazam. Okay, that is the wife of Tony Lanez, or soon to be ex-wife of Tony Lanez. That relationship started in 2016, 2017. They share a son who was born in 2017. They were filed for divorce. She requests sole custody. So they were married in 2023. So the relationship starts in 2016, 2017. They had a son in between that time and 2023. Meanwhile, in early 2020, Mr. Lanez gets into a fornicating partnership with Kelsey Harris. Now he may or may not be in a fornicating partnership with Raina at this time. According to ChatGPT, there's no public information to confirm one way or the other on that. And then Meg the Stallion, the male horse, says in mid-20, that's when she began her fornicating partnership with Lanez. It's a pretty strong chance Mr. Lanez was having fornicating partnerships with Raina, Kelsey, and Meg the male horse at the same time. Well, it could have been an on again, off again situation. And it was just Meg and Kelsey at that time. But there's strong evidence that each one of these ladies has some involvement with Lanez in 2020. And before I go into the scripts that would have prevented Lanez from even being involved in this situation, we want to go over the term whoremonger. It's an old English word found in the King James Version. It refers to a man who engages in sexual immorality, particularly with prostitutes, or on a habitual sexual sin. Modern equivalents to whoremonger: sexually immoral person, fornicator, prostitute customer. And so we have Ephesians 5:5. For this ye know that no whoremonger, nor unclean person, nor covetous man, who is an idolater, hath any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and of God. Hebrews 13:4. Marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled, but whoremongers, a fornicator, and adulterers, God will judge. So if Tory Lanez would have known, and if he do know, would have followed these principles, these commandments, he will not be in the trouble that he is in now. I want to take a look at what's going on with the chat. Tessa Wallace says they need to be locked up for lying on him. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I can't really put my thumb on it right now, but I have heard rumblings on social media where the tide is starting to turn around, where people who do make false claims are being held accountable more so than what they have been in the past. So that's a good thing. That will help minimize a lot of women who use this as a weapon to men when they're not getting what they want. You know, they'll call the police and make false reports. They'll make false statements to get PPOs in child custody cases, things of that nature. So that the culture is starting to change, and people are starting to be held accountable more so than they have been. So all praises with that thing. Corey Joe is in the house. Yeah. So next up, gonna go just a little update on what's going on with Ryan Hinton in regards to the placements of the gunshots and what have you. So we're gonna go over that, throw our little 2 cents in it, and take it from there. So let's go. Let's get right into it.
How are you?
Good. There's just
Give me a moment as I fix the video ownership on here, so we don't try and abate the chances of copyright claims as much as we possibly can. All right.
Wound, and it was in the right posterolateral chest, adjacent to the. There was a third. There was a second information and the truth to the public. So I'm counting on you to do that here. And so I thought I will give you a copy of this when I'm done with the press conference, but I wanted to at least give you the preliminary autopsy findings on Ryan Hinton. So Mr. Hinton had 3 gunshot wounds to his body, and this is in no particular order, but there was one in the left forearm, and there was an entrance wound and an exit wound, and it was soft tissue injury only. Did not contact any bone, and just skin wounds, entrance and exit. There was a second gunshot wound in the left lateral chest, So underneath the axilla, meaning the armpit, and that one did traverse the chest, and it did traverse through the left ventricle, and it exited the chest near the sternum. We believe that.
So the wound that actually deleted Ryan Hinton entered through the armpit, through the side. Went in through one lung and exited, and that was the fatal shot. On past shows we had where we shown the video where Ryan Hinton came from between two dumpsters, okay, and was not facing the officer, but was actually running away. But then we also reviewed the general's law in regards to that. One of the officers yelled, "He has a gun." And we reviewed that lawfully, if you have been identified as a danger to the officer and or the community around, or the community that the assailant is running into, the officer can lawfully use deadly force. So in the body cam, this was like 6 seconds of footage in his body cam. So things is in a blur. You don't see nothing in 4K. But what you did not see in Ryan Hinton's left hand, I did not see a pistol. And I believe the right hand was up in a running gesture at the time that Ryan Hinton's image was in that 6 second shot. And I did not see a pistol. But Mr. Hinton was struck from the side. The fatal wound came from the side.
And did you recover that bullet, or was it the other? That was the one you did not?
Yeah, no, there were pieces of that bullet that we recovered, but not the entire bullet, no.
And he basically bled to death then what happened?
We didn't have a scene response. We only responded to the hospital, so I'm not sure what happened at the scene. So.
The third bullet that you were able to retrieve from the right coastal
Neck.
chest.
No, it was recovered from the neck, just below the skull.
So you're saying he was shot in the back?
No, I said he was shot in the right posterolateral near the shoulder.
Almost that angle that you see in that body cam.
I cannot comment on the body cam. First of all, there was so much motion, and I am not a body cam expert. I get a little motion sick anyway, so that's not my cup of tea. So you're going to have to ask somebody about the body cam footage. Yeah.
So can you then talk about where that bullet entered that body in plain speak and where it exited?
It entered the side of the chest. It impacted the left 7th rib, and then it traveled through the left side of the chest, through the left ventricle, and then out the front.
And then the other bullet, how would that bullet have, in plain speak, entered and exited?
It entered, plain speaking, I mean, I'm a physician. This is right posterolateral chest, is, near the shoulder, and then traveled up underneath the skin, and then ended at the base of the skull without impacting bone or anything along the way. It was all soft tissue beneath the skin.
That would have had to be then as he was going down.
You're going to have to talk to somebody about that, because again, I can't comment on the body cam footage or what position his body was in at the time. And I can't also tell you which gunshot wound preceded which. I don't know the order. I can just tell you the gunshot wounds there are 3 entrance wounds and 2 exit wounds.
But it's possible that there were only two bullets that hit him.
It's possible.
Go ahead.
From a legal perspective, what allows you to talk today that didn't allow you on Friday?
I didn't know that I wasn't allowed on Friday, but I didn't have enough information, and that's why I had to postpone the press conference until I gathered some more information about what my requirements were with respect to the grand jury subpoena, and that's why I took the time to get the information before I proceeded with the press conference.
What does that mean that you got this subpoena then?
I don't know what that means. I mean, it's a grand jury subpoena asking for materials, and like I said, I've never had one before in the office, so that's why I needed to find out what that meant.
It didn't stop you from relaying any of this information then?
Not today, but I didn't know what.
So at this point, they just keep asking the same shit over and over again. All right. So the gist of bringing this video out was to pretty much just to show where he was struck at and what have you, and to further to confirm the fact that Ryan Hinton was struck running away and what have you. What significance that has is in the legal world, based on what we reviewed last week, it could be minimum. We will yet to see how the defense is going to use this and what have you. So hopefully, things will happen to these Cincinnati, Ohio's where this occurred. So hopefully something will happen with these officers. But as we have experienced a myriad of times in the past, that we pretty much expect that these officers are going to walk again. Okay, let's check out what's going on in the chat. Mrs. O said they call he got a gun to justify shootings. Yeah, so that's correct. And I believe there was a comment that happened in the chat that said that they did find a gun on him. They did say that they found the gun on the scene. That was in the report. A gun was found. Whether it was on him or the other assailants, is not clear, but a gun was found on the scene. Next up, a little update on the Frisco track. Let me deal with the ownership stuff right quick, and then we can get right into the video. Fox 4 owns this video.
In the stabbing.
And to the officer's credit, remember, the statements made by Carmelo Anthony were voluntary without the officer Mirandizing him before he said anything to him. He started explaining what happened. So to the officer's credit, he put all of that in the arrest affidavit.
Yeah, because
which is why we know what we know.
If we didn't have that information, man, Lord knows what social media would take off on.
Right. And well, it has already. And you mentioned the judge for a moment, Angela Tucker. Listen, people who have the same name, right, who have nothing to do with that court, were getting threats, death threats at their home, on their cell phone, text messages, people driving by their homes because of the ability to look up stuff about folks on the internet. And the court has always been a hallowed place. You don't threaten officers of the court. As we've seen in this case. Angela Tucker didn't go out and say, oh, I want this case.
Right.
She just happened
She was
to
randomly
the next in the wheel, and I'm sure she would have preferred for it to be in someone else's court.
Oh, yeah. And Judge Tucker, and we'll get into this, Judge Tucker, she did a long litany of explanation before we even got to the bond reduction part, talking about how she doesn't know either of these families, talking about how she had to have so much security. The sheriff was in the courtroom. That's not normal, but I know we'll get into that soon.
Yeah. All right. And so we're going to be joined in a minute here by Casey Stiegel. I hope you'll stay with us. We're just getting started. A lot to talk about as we talk about the Frisco stabbing case. Stay with us. And we are back. Stephen Dial with me, and now joined by Casey Stiegel as we talk about the Frisco track meet stabbing. After this event happened, maybe a week after or so, there was a news conference held by the Next Generation Action Network and the parents of Carmelo Anthony. Why the news conference? Why did Next Generation get involved, and how? Do you know?
So that was Thursday, April 17th, when they held that press conference. And it was interesting because we don't really know exactly how the family got linked up with Dominique Alexander and the Next Generation Action Network. We know that Alexander posted pictures the day he was released from court at home of Carmelo Anthony at home. That they called the press conference because at that time, if you remember, there was a lot of misinformation. You all talked about that earlier, but there was a lot of stuff online that was suggesting that the Anthony family was using some of the money that had been donated online from these online fundraising efforts, that they had used it to buy a fancy car, that they were moving into a house in a gated community, and things like that. So they called the press conference because they wanted us, the mainstream media, if you will, to get the word out there to stop the misinformation. And I, as much as anyone, wish that we could have stopped the misinformation, but we have nothing to do with that, you know?
So at that news conference, Austin Metcalf's dad shows up. What was that moment like? And have you experienced something like that before?
It was one of the most uncomfortable situations that I'd been in quite some time. And the interesting thing is as you all know, when we get up to these press conferences, there's a little bit of downtime. We get there early to make sure we're set up and the mic checks are all done. And all of the other reporters that I was talking to from all of the other stations in Dallas-Fort Worth who were there covering it talked about how uncomfortable it was, because at one point we looked up waiting for the press conference to start and we see Austin Metcalf's dad, Jeff, over to the side. And so there were some rumors that they were going to cancel the press conference altogether. We were at the Next Generation Action Network's offices. They're in a building kind of close to downtown. The press conference was supposed to start. It ended up going 10, 15, 20 minutes late. And then out of nowhere, the Dallas police showed up and they escorted Mr. Metcalf out of the building. And not long after that, they came to the podium and they began the press conference. And one of the things that struck me was as soon as he was out the door, Dominique Alexander used that opportunity to say what I viewed as some pretty harsh things about Mr. Metcalf, saying that it was disrespecting the dignity of his son by showing up unannounced at this press conference. And in fact, we have a little bit of sound and I want to play that now.
That was disrespectful and just shows you all the character who is not invited. He knows that it's inappropriate to be near this family.
So what was going?
I totally agree. Rather, if it should have been expressed at that time with that tone, is to be speculated, is to be argued. But I totally agree, that was inappropriate. I took it as a form of intimidation. We have two families. They should not be in each other's company other than court, in a controlled environment. That was not, I mean, the Dallas police did show up. Who knows how far they were and what have you, but in the court, you got your deputies standing right there, you know, everything to make sure things are back in control pretty quick and what have you. But that, I believe that was a form of intimidation and it was inappropriate. Rather, it should have been addressed promptly like that. I don't know. I'm not really in agreement with the strength and the tonality that the young man used to express his discontent and to highlight the disrespect and the disregard and being that it was inappropriate to be there. I'm not sure if the tonality was correct at that time. I believe that it should have been addressed, but it should have been some thought behind how they was going to address that and then present that. I think that it was it wasn't diplomatically done. I mean, perception is everything, right? So you're on the defendant side of the fence. You don't want to introduce anything that doesn't suggest anything that they can try to stretch or put color on and attach it to a sense of arrogance, a sense of haughtiness. You want to stay you don't want to be want to be even killed. You want to be even in your presentation as a defendant, because the evidence is stacked against them. So you don't want to be or appear too assertive on any matter. In the long run, I believe it doesn't pan out for you. Is this something else that they can use to show aggression? All right, that's my take on that. Let's get back into the video.
Us, the mainstream media, if you will, to get the word out there to stop the misinformation. And I, as much as anyone, wish that we could have stopped the misinformation, but we have nothing to do with that, you know?
So at that news conference, Austin Metcalf's dad shows up. What was that moment like? And have you experienced something like that before?
It was one of the most uncomfortable situations that I'd been in quite some time. And the interesting thing is as you all know, when we get up to these press conferences, there's a little bit of downtime. We get there early to make sure we're set up and the mic checks are all done. And all of the other reporters that I was talking to from all of the other stations in Dallas-Fort Worth who were there covering it talked about how uncomfortable it was, because at one point we looked up waiting for the press conference to start and we see Austin Metcalf's dad, Jeff, over to the side. And so there were some rumors that they were going to cancel the press conference altogether. We were at the Next Generation Action Network's offices. They're in a building kind of close to downtown. The press conference was supposed to start. It ended up going 10, 15, 20 minutes late. And then out of nowhere, the Dallas police showed up and they escorted Mr. Metcalf out of the building. And not long after that, they came to the podium and they began the press conference. And one of the things that struck me was as soon as he was out the door, Dominique Alexander used that opportunity to say what I viewed as some pretty harsh things about Mr. Metcalf, saying that it was disrespecting the dignity.
And I just went over this. You see, he's a member of the press. He's an Edomite, right? Immediately, this is exactly what I just said. And even though we replayed this, I didn't catch it the first time. I'm catching it right now, and this is exactly what I just expressed. So he's putting that out there, and he's not the only one to view it this way. You know who else is going to view it this way? The jury. So it wasn't a healthy move for that. This guy, he's not trained, obviously. To represent someone in this manner. I'm trying to recall the actual title for a person who's responsible for someone's public image. And obviously he's not trained in that discipline.
On Metcalf.
Right. The headline that day was not necessarily what the Anthony family was saying. The headline was Jeff Metcalf had been escorted out of the press conference by Dallas police. And, we know about messaging as reporters, and, the messaging, I think, missed the mark a little bit there and was just another distraction, one of many distractions we've seen come up in this story. I've ever covered a story before in my career where I've had such a high level of hate directed at myself,
at the reporters,
just for covering the story. But that video went viral. I tweeted it out, then it got picked up in the echo chamber, as I like to call it, And I mean, to this day, I still, am getting messages every now and again, from both sides. People that are supportive of Austin Metcalf, people that are supportive of Carmelo Anthony, but it does show the level of vitriol that is out there when it comes to this story specifically.
Right. And if you're telling the story, just the facts as we know that in the middle of the road, you have both sides coming at you, and we're in a different place in our society. But let's talk about the numbers. The stories around the Frisco track meet stabbing. 4 of those stories are the top 10 stories on our website this year.
And that's saying something. I mean, and we have
an emotional day as a reporter covering this breaking news back in April.
Yes, absolutely. And I think as reporters, I had pitched the story because I saw an alert on Twitter from Frisco police, but I don't think I was thinking it was as serious as it was. When I saw it, I thought, oh, maybe someone, had been hit in the side or a leg or something like that at this track meet. And on my drive up to Frisco, I was trying to find parents talking about it on social media. I had joined a group with Frisco parents. So I was kind of reading their comments, and I was on the phone with a mom as her daughter was coming home from school, actually. And she put me on speaker, and I got to talk with her daughter and the mom. Obviously, they weren't at the track meet, but her daughter was kind of going through, oh my gosh, everyone's phones went off during class, and talking about how students knew information before the police even reported it. And obviously, as a kid, who are you going to talk to, right? You're going to text your parents. Well,
basically graduate without walking. But now that's kind of up in the air. We don't have official confirmation on that, and the district saying because of a privacy issue, they can't tell us certain things about a student.
Whether he gets his diploma or whether he has to pursue a GED or something, despite his GPA and having enough hours or credits, if you will, in high school to graduate. We just don't know because of what has happened.
Exactly. And that's one of the, it's kind of like peeling an onion, right? There's layers to this. So this layer this week is, will he complete high school? Another layer is what happens next. So we know the bond was reduced.
So
he's on house arrest.
And remember, the Supreme Court says that bond is not supposed to be excessive. And based on certain things, flight risk, those kinds of things.
Criminal
history, support system, a judge can reduce a bond. And that's what happened. Because bond is supposed to ensure your presence for court proceedings.
Yeah,
not to keep you in jail.
I was in the courtroom and Judge Tucker kept saying, she gets a set of guidelines. Every judge has a set of guidelines.
Yeah.
And for this case, she looked at it and said, Carmelo Anthony did not have any past criminal experience, criminal activity in history. She put him on house arrest, told him don't do certain things, and if he violated it, and she said, would you rather be on house arrest or in a cell? And she put the ball in his court, basically.
Of course, bail reform's happening in Texas by September. This all could be different going forward. The next case like this. Prayerfully, there won't be another case like this. A case that's not yet been solved in terms of final dispensation because we haven't gone to court yet.
Right.
It's not even been indicted yet, but that's going to happen.
That's the next step.
And it'll likely happen before the month of June is over. It'll go before the grand jury. What will go before the grand jury? The arrest affidavit?
Yeah. So the arrest affidavit, and I spoke to the Collin County District Attorney right after that bond reduction hearing, and he didn't complain so much about the bond reduction. He said his office's job now is to bring it to a grand jury. When the police department turns the case over, that's when a lot of details are shared that we won't know for some time.
Right, because remember, the grand jury is secret proceedings. It's a secret proceeding. We don't have access to grand jury. The prosecutors present their case. Oftentimes the defense attorney can present a written synopsis, if you will, of what they want this jury to know. There can be witnesses before a grand jury, and then the grand jury will decide to indict, to no bail, meaning we're not going to indict someone, or yes, we'll indict them, but we may indict them for a lesser charge. In this case, do believe that there will be an indictment for first-degree murder.
And at the time of the bond reduction hearing, Carmelo Anthony's defense attorney talked after too, and we asked him, are you going to try this as a self-defense case? Because from that officer's notes,
the arrest affidavit,
he said he was defending himself. And so that opens up a whole new door. You know, Kyle Rittenhouse, what Amelia was talking about, self-defense case. And so that is the playbook likely from the defense. And then the prosecution is going to do their side as to painting, you know, an argument should not have resulted in a death.
Absolutely. So it is the case that will be studied. I'm talking about everything that happened around it, all the social media, all the vitriol, all the firestorm. This will be studied and analyzed for the impact of social media and people's attitudes and how quickly things like race came into play. And based on what we know now, there was never anything disparaging said about anyone's ethnicity. It's been a case for us to watch too.
And it's going to be watching much more.
Yeah.
And I said this before, that Carmelo shouldn't have never been over by, you know, the opposing side's tent. I never hung out with the opposing sides over at their bench, chilling or trying to chill, sit down where the opposing team is sitting down at, and what have you. In a way, you know, it was two hot heads. We know the results. Different stories out if it was a tent spike that was used, or if he actually if it was a spike sharpener for Carmelo's spikes on his shoes, or if it was a spike to hold the tent down, did he pull that out, or did he come to school with a knife? So we'll find out the particulars on that once everything is, once the books are opened up in the court in trial. Find out exactly what was used and well, hey, how it was used. But it was an argument between two hotheads, and Carmelo should have never had his ass over there. And as far as the Edomite boy, it wasn't his place to check Carmelo. That was something, if there was a trespass in regards to him, you know, you sitting underneath the opposing team's tent, you know. One of our viewers said, well, it was raining. So he sought shelter underneath that tent. Okay. I mean, that can be used as a reasonable explanation for doing that. I agree. I agree with that. So, you know, different variables that happened that day. Was it raining? It was raining, so that's why he went over to the tent. Then the Edomite confronts him when he should have handed that issue over to an adult, and so it could be handled diplomatically. You know, things like that. But essentially, at the end of the day, you had two hotheads bucking up against one another. And these are, you know, two young men, you know, immature men who have not, or do not know how to handle conflict and what have you. So, and how to confront trespasses. So, we got a lot to unpack with this case still. And next on the horizon,
a Trump agenda bill is
take care of the video ownership right quick. WQAD News 8 owns this video. Let's check it out.
A Trump agenda bill is moving to the Senate after weeks of internal GOP wrangling. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio is in Washington with details.
On this vote, the yeas are 215, the nays are 214, with one answering present. The bill is passed.
This morning, the House passes President Trump's tax cut and spending bill after a marathon debate that stretched through the entire night and into the early morning, which came down to House leaders facing off.
The GOP tax scam represents an assault on the economy, an assault on health care, an assault on nutritional assistance, an assault on tax fairness, and an assault on fiscal responsibility.
What we're going to do here this morning is truly historic, and it will make all the difference in the daily lives of hardworking Americans. The Dallas waitress pulling overtime, the Detroit mom counting bills late at night, the Kentucky coal miner waiting on his second chance. These are the forgotten men and women of our country that we are all called here to serve. And the one big beautiful bill will deliver for those people.
If it passes the Senate, the Republican-led spending bill would fulfill a number of President Trump's campaign promises, from extending Trump's 2017 tax cut, lifting the federal income tax on tips and overtime work, and providing $50 billion to resume construction of the border wall. But the package would also slash federal spending by more than $1.5 trillion, including cuts to food assistance and Medicaid, which could leave more than 8 million Americans without health insurance over a decade. The successful vote sends the bill on to the Senate, where the Republican majority is expected to revise the legislation over the next month. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
All right. The big, beautiful tax bill. That's funny. Well, of course, the distraction is no taxes on overtime and tips. And I believe no taxes on Social Security as well. The real objective is to free up $1.5 trillion for the military industrial complex. So enjoy the money, but it's something greater that's coming behind that. It's always an alternative, something to get you to agree or get comfortable and sit down and while the main objective of it goes into play, and ultimately it's to your demise. Next up is the other main topic of today's show: Black fatigue. All right.
I start by brain dumping everything I need to get done in a
Now to black fatigue. It has.
All right, so we're going to check this out, but before we do so, let's take care of the ownership, which is, I know it's channel Fox 26 Houston, channel 26 in Houston, the Isaiah Factor. Fox 26 Houston owns this video. Let's get it.
Has recently been turned into a feeling that some white and black people have who say they are damn tired of foolishness of some black people, the claims of racism from sunup to sundown, loud talking, fighting, and the list goes on. Not my list now, keep that in mind, but some people are tired of the complaints and don't give a damn. Here's what one TikTok user had to say about it.
Not racist, and I know y'all have been told this is racist, but it's not. It's not racist to call black people out for their behavior and what they're doing to society at this moment. I'm glad people are noticing this because it's been so many years and it's finally catching up to y'all. I've been trying to tell y'all that white people are tired of y'all. I'm tired of y'all too, but everybody, the world is getting sick of y'all and y'all's. I'm so glad this day is here. I've been trying to get out there that you people need help. It's me, but me and other black conservatives. We've been trying to warn society that this is what it's gonna come to when y'all keep coddling black people.
All righty, are her feelings valid? Joining us to talk about it, Dr. Angela Jones, political analyst, Angela Box, activist, Eugene Howard, filmmaker Sean Welling, and conservative M. Williams. We want to thank you all for joining us here on The Factor. First of all, let's define what black fatigue is supposed to be, Dr. Jones.
Black fatigue is supposed to be just and I'm trying to make it as short as possible. Basically, society is saying that they're tired of how black people are blaming things that have happened to us historically in the past on what's happening today. And they are also now adding different things that they have seen in society to that behavior as well. As she said, like loud mouthing or maybe, using certain words or certain behaviors in public. So that's basically the definition in a short sense.
Do we get anywhere with that, with this conversation?
No, this absolutely
okay, good night, folks.
I mean, the thing is, it's an absolutely pointless conversation. It's like, okay, so now what? Thank you for letting us know that there's a new fancy word of you saying that you're tired of black people. Mm-hmm. And you put it on the internet, and now people are co-signing on it, including with the way the environment is already. But it's okay. You put a nice new name to it, and now you feel like it's okay to say. And it's not going to do anything for anybody to now pander this term around, to pass it on in the internet and put it in people's mouth and make people feel encouraged to say, I have black fatigue. But when we're all tired, when I'm saying, we're all tired of something and somewhere, there's always something. Mm-hmm. So this is not actually going to help anyone psychologically, mentally, emotionally. It's only going to create more divisiveness, more anger, and more hate in society.
And when we see a lot of people,
yeah, I totally agree. At the end of the day, what? Edomites have expressed a shortness of tolerability, if that's a word, or a lack of being tolerated or tolerating the black community. Since the beginning of time. Since the beginning of time. Now, there's going to be some of you out there like, not my Edomite friend. They're great. They have a black grandchild. You know, some shit like that or what have you. You see more and more twirling going on nowadays. So it's this sentiment that, you know, overall, there's the environment isn't like it used to be. But yet, there are systematic hurdles put in place to prevent the advancement of black people as a whole, or to at least slow it down more so than our white counterparts. Oh yeah, 18, exactly. Absolutely. 18's hit it right on the head. Hey, give it time, and that black grandchild means nothing. That black son-in-law, daughter-in-law, that my black son, my black daughter. Mrs. O tells this story quite often in regards to she have witnessed Edomite women who have had children by brown people and black people, and they will call her my little beaner baby or something. Mrs. O, go ahead and put in the chat the terminology that you have witnessed these white mothers describe their Northern Kingdom and Southern Kingdom children. Wait for Mrs. O to go ahead and do that thing. But we're going to get back into the video.
Are her feelings valid? Joining us to talk about it, Dr. Angela Jones, political analyst, Angela Box, activist, Eugene Howard, filmmaker Sean Welling, and conservative M. Williams. We want to thank you all for joining us here on The Factor. First of all, let's define what black fatigue is supposed to be, Dr. Jones.
Black fatigue is supposed to be just and I'm trying to make it as short as possible. Basically, society is saying that they're tired of courage to say I have black fatigue, but
especially black people joining that chorus, saying that I'm tired of black people too. What will that do?
It's not going to do anything, because here's the thing, that black person or the black people that are on completely behave.
Your thoughts about this black fatigue?
Well, with all due respect to Angela, number one, I really disagree with this. It is
she's not co-signing on it, you know, including with the way the environment is already.
Respect to Angela, number one, I really disagree with this. It is a completely behavior-based issue. And when white people, black people, Hispanic people are saying we have black fatigue because of the behavior of some black people, we've all seen it, we all know what it is. It's everywhere, and you know the issue is way more insidious than people realize. And I talk about how a lot of these things come back to what the Democrat Party has done to the black community purposefully, starting with the Great Society of Lyndon B. Johnson, who he famously said, "I'm going to have these N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years." When Democrats said you don't need fathers in the home, you can be on welfare and have as many babies as you want. And oh, by the way, we're going to destroy public schools and we're going to make sure that behavior standards are seen as racist. So the out of control behavior that we've seen in the classrooms, in society, all over, is part and parcel of what the Democrat Party has done to the black community.
All right, Eugene, let's hear from you before we have to take a break.
Man, why are we all? What does the Democrat Party have to do with black fatigue?
Everything.
Hold on. Okay, first of all, I think he asked Eugene. So last time I checked, I'm Eugene on stage. So the Democratic Party has nothing to do with black fatigue. What the original term from the actual black community of black fatigue was after every other community decided to vote, since you want to talk politics, Donald Trump, then black folks said, we're going to sit this one out. We're going to let this thing burn down and we're going to go have a good time because we're tired. We have been struggling. Our grandparents, our great-grandparents, our great-great-great-great-great-grandparents have been fighting this same fight. So if you guys want to turn around, you know, he said the N-word, why don't you guys feel so comfortable, just say it. Just go ahead and say the N-word. We're you know, if it's so okay, if you're so fatigued, if you don't want to recognize the civil rights plight, go ahead and say the N-word. No one's stopping you. It's a free country,
not on
right?
this show, Eugene.
I mean, I'm just
about
saying.
to lose me my show.
but that's my point. It's a lot of things that they want to use code words, whether it's DEI, whether it's black fatigue. They just want to be able to say the N-word without being able to say the N-word.
So do you not find certain behaviors objectionable? Or you think it's cool?
Listen, I live in a real community. I see a whole bunch of unruly white folks, Hispanic folks. So it's not just the black community, but we always want to emphasize on black when it's negative.
All right.
And I agree with that point. That what we do, what black and brown do is always projected out, is always broadcast. Okay. Not only that, it's commercialized. It's marketed to us. Socio-economic situations have been engineered, socially engineered where they already know that certain behaviors come out of certain setups. They had an experiment before they created public housing, before the Cabrini Greens and the Harmon Gardens and Cabrini Greens is notorious in Chicago, the Harmon Gardens in Detroit, the Jeffries in Detroit, the Brewsters in Detroit. Before these public housing complexes went up, it was an experiment done with rats. They put a bunch of rats in close corners and confined. And what ended up happening was the rats or the mice, they turned on themselves. And homosexual behavior was being observed as well. So now with 20, 30 years throughout the 60s, 70s, early 80s, you have these Cabrini Greens, these Harmon Gardens. Now you want to tear the shit down, and where do the people go? They spread out into the neighborhood with these behaviors. In addition, what was instituted through welfare and feminism, now you're breaking down the family, the middle class family, and the working poor as well. But now we're going to attack the middle class family, and that's the way we're going to do that, with the feminism and what have you, and enabling and providing provisions that men weren't provided, but the women were, so they can excel. And then turn around and look at the man, look down on him. And now have an attitude or have the disposition that I'm greater. I don't need the traditional family setup anymore. I can do this on my own. So it was a lot of different things going on during different times and what have you, and it ultimately created a situation where now we're able to market this and glorify it. Thus, the introduction of gangster rap. But black exploitation was going on way before that. Thus, the movies in the 70s, Goldie, The Pimp. It was glamorized and back then. You know what? One thing that our Edomite counterparts do with their children that we as a whole don't do with ours? When they see or hear some media, some rap, or even in their own music, you know, they got some vulgar speech going on in movies and what have you. Them parents say, you know that ain't real, right? You know that's not real Tommy or Timmy. They bring them back to reality, remind them on what to do, A, B, and C, so you can have this perceived decent lifestyle, decent life. To follow the rules, and you'll be moderately, if not excessively, successful carnally. You know what we do with our children? Once they hear about P popping on a handstand, and today is the twerk and you know, selling this and banging that, and and we look at we watch Colors, then we watch Boys in the Hood, then we watch Menace to Society and and things of that nature. You know what we do with our kids? Nothing. We don't say shit. We don't say, hey, you know Leroy, you know that ain't real, right? That's on the movies. When you do this, that, and the third, music don't play in the background and you fade to black and then a bunch of words come down on the screen and you know, that what happens is that you end up in the dirt or in the cell or inflicted with a disease that you can't get rid of or financially destroyed for the rest of your life. This is also, I did let the kids listen to music, watch cartoons or movies that weren't appropriate. Exactly. I didn't let my children, one of the things that I was on, because they was really too young to get into anything else, but I monitored those cartoons. SpongeBob was not allowed in my house because of the homosexual undertones of the cartoon. So there's different angles on black fatigue that I've observed, So initially, white people are tired of looking at our shit, at the behaviors that that are being showcased in our community. At the same time, they created the stage for it. They wrote out the script. They created the venue, built the stage, wrote out the script, provided training on it. We all run out on stage, acted out, and now they sitting in the audience and saying, I don't want to watch this shit more. That's on that angle. The other angle is of black fatigue. Black people are tired of black people. And so now there's a designation between black people and ninjas. Someone, when I was reviewing this topic, was saying, express how, have you ever noticed how when black people become successful, they move out of the hood? Absolutely. And it wasn't, and I did the exact same thing. In 2002, I bought a 2002 Chevrolet Avalanche. It was the first year it came out. I threw a TV dash, a TV in the dash. I had tins in the back, I'm living on the west side of Detroit in my hood, in the hood that I grew up in. I was staying on a street called Stout at the time. So I come around the corner, I make a left on a Stout. I'm getting ready to pull up in my house. But I noticed these ninjas on the corner, they had a particular look. So I said, all right. That same night, they took the TV dash out. The TV out the dash. Had a a puppy Rockwilder. They took that out the backyard. So I moved my family to Bloomfield Hills. So the attitude, the thought wasn't, let me get away from these ninjas. The thought was, let me get around people who have the same shit I got or better, so they don't look at what I have. If you got what I got, or you have better than what I have, you ain't looking at my shit. And the same BS goes on in the trailer parks. For the Skylers that have better toys than Timmy, you have the same dynamic. Same BS goes on there as well. What I'm particularly tired of is seeing the ratchetness on social media. Is seeing the continuous marketing of garbage media. Some content creators actually making a living or making content off of garbage material. So as long as there's an audience that will consume this shit, you will always have this going on. And not only for, well, it is also for entertainment if you put it in the news as well. So it keeps the viewers watching ratchet behavior. That's why the news uses it. That's why all the media platforms use it. And then we want to turn around and say we tired of it when most of us consume it. But yeah, I'm tired of it coming across my news feed. I am. I'm tired of it being in my peripheral at Walmart or straight ahead. You're minding your business and then somebody pop out from the aisle with their ass cheeks, half their ass cheeks being exposed. Wearing stuff to show their rollers or their camel paw. So that's my take on black fatigue. That's what I'm tired of looking at. Let's finish this video, cause it gets spicy.
You know, he said the N-word. Why don't you guys feel so comfortable? Just say it. Just go ahead and say the N-word. We're you know, if it's so okay, if you're so fatigued, if you don't want to recognize the civil rights plight, go ahead and say the N-word. No one's stopping you. It's a free country,
I don't
right?
need show, Eugene.
I mean, I'm just
about
saying.
to lose me my show.
but that's my point. It's a lot of things that they want to use code words, whether it's DEI, whether it's black fatigue. They just want to be able to say the N-word without being able to say the N-word.
So do you not find certain behaviors objectionable? Or you think it's cool?
Listen, I live in a real community. I see a whole bunch of unruly white folks, Hispanic folks. So it's not just the black community, but we always want to emphasize on black when it's negative.
All right, we'll take a break there. Don't go anywhere. We'll continue our discussion after the break. Welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. We continue our discussion on black fatigue tonight. The feeling involves the stress that some black people deal with when it comes to constant exposure to racism. But there are people on both sides and inside and outside the black community who say they are tired of hearing about it. Our guests are back here on The Factor. Emenderlin, let's begin with you. As a conservative, your thoughts about black fatigue.
Well, whether you like black fatigue as a name or not, it's the truth. Like, we're tired of the victimhood mentality, the trauma identification, the need for external, agreement. That's ridiculous. That's terrible for the black community right now. That's terrible for the children growing up. I mean, there's so many broken homes, and I think that's the core foundation. Number one, I believe the core foundation is that the parents failed to not only unify the home, but also failed to put true identity in God in the children. So if you don't have identity in God, you don't have identity at all. That's number one.
Do you at all see the black community as a...
All praises for that. That's the main thing right there. No identity in the Most High.
A lost cause or just some individuals? What?
I don't believe the black community is a lost cause at all. I just believe that we need to stop as a whole with all of this complaining. We need to move past the past and, become better. As an American, my parents were actually Nigerian. They came here in the 80s and they grew up here. They had me and my brothers, and we're all successful and not one complaint through our entire childhood. They said, work for what you need, work for what you're gonna get, and you will get it. God placed talent in all of us, black, white, whatever you may, call yourself, but God placed, all of these great things within us. Why should I now say, oh, well, a white person thinks this of me, or there's racism here and there? I don't think about that. I don't wake up every morning and have racism and all of these negative things on my mind. I move forward and I move past that.
All right, Sean, let's hear from you. Your thoughts about this conversation and the term that we now hear.
And again, I was so taken by your speech. The term we're talking about is black, what was it again? It's
fatigue.
Okay, so on black fatigue, and coming from somebody, and I think I agree with her tremendously, having a school for 3 decades, it was the first hip-hop dance school in the country. It's a cancer to tell a young kid that they're oppressed, that they're less than, and the world's against them. Right from the beginning, you're setting a standard by which they have to overcome something, when really you need to put God in them and tell them how great things are for them.
Amen.
So I was never around black people to complain. All the actors and dancers I was around, they had a sense of purpose. They were dynamic, and they never complained. So to me, it's really what I get is in social media is a lot of white people complaining and creating this problem, saying, look, watch out, these people are in trouble. I'm like, back off. Let them create their own destiny.
Absolutely.
So I don't see that as being the black issue. I see more of a liberal white situation when they're not even in a position to complain or talk about it. They're virtue signaling, and it drives us nuts.
Okay.
Dr. Jones?
You know, the conversation that we're having here is whether black fatigue is a real thing. But the problem is that the reason this topic has come back up is because of the viral video that recently came out of the woman that called a 5-year-old autistic kid the N-word. And then she raised $700,000 by a Christian organization, and I am Christian as well, so I just want to put that out there as well. And she raised $300,000 from another organization. I don't know if she actually got that money, but then this video from the person who originally started putting this on TikTok came out in reference to that.
Yeah.
Now, I am a first-generation American as well, and I was taught a certain way as well, but what we cannot ignore is the things that have set us back as a community. The reason we are not where we're supposed to be is because we are still only a couple of decades away from what we have been oppressed from and the things that we have gone Constantly from. looking at the past. My
Really quick, let
I'm
Dr.
talking.
Jones talk.
Okay. And so my grandmother, who just passed away last week, was there for the civil rights.
And when she made that statement, the Edomites started to interrupt. So she had a problem with that, right? Bringing up the civil rights, that how we only 40, 50 years away from certain major turning points in our history. And what really annoys me is when we bring things like that up in our history. Edomite fatigue, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear what they've done. But at the same time, if you say, I don't want to hear nothing about the Holocaust no more, it's a big ass, it's an issue, it's a problem. You getting canceled. So you can bring up certain aspects of certain points in your history, and I can't do the same. That's a problem. That's a problem. Off of this, something came up that's in relation to what I just expressed. Let me pull it up. Let me find it. Let me find. But before I do, Red Lipstick Vibes is in the house. What's going on, Red Lipstick Vibes? Glad you was able to drop in, hang out with us for a little bit. All right. All right, let me take care of the ownership of this right quick. Angry biracial reacts, owns this video. check it out.
Imagine trying to pass off your racism as frustration, and in doing so, colonizing the term black fatigue. Black fatigue is a term that refers to the physical and psychological exhaustion experienced by many black people due to repeated exposure to racism, discrimination, and systemic injustice over time. Right now, the entire world is suffering from white exhaustion. White people are only 7% of the world's population. And yet somehow you have always been, are now, and will always be the absolute most violent creatures on the planet. The way you people consume welfare needs to be studied. I, for one, am tired of working overtime to pay my taxes so that you can sit your ass on welfare in your trailers, in your trailer parks, smoking meth. I'm exhausted from waking up every day and seeing that somewhere all over the world, white men have again felt entitled to the bodies of children. But you're never ready to have those conversations. Nobody's children is safe around you. I'm tired of opening up social media and seeing that someone has posted a video of some white woman somewhere committing bestiality. Other countries that are not predominantly white hate to see you coming. Destroy and disrespect every culture, everything good that you come across and always have. White exhaustion is real. And if you're so unhappy here, if you don't like the way things are, feel free to go back to Europe. I hear there's caves available in the Caucasus Mountains. Feel free to bon voyage. Please feel free to pack you, your future school shooters, and future child predators up and go and move to Europe. If you don't like it here, then leave expeditiously.
That sister ate that up. She was not playing. She came to fight. And I was thinking the whole time, I hope no entitled white person gets in this woman's comments, because they have no fucking clue how dangerous that woman is. But the entitlement and privilege of European Americans is unmatched. If I was white and I saw that, I would just block her. Because I wouldn't want no parts of that work she just gave all of white America. But of course, some European American woman had a death wish. And this is what happened.
I promise you, you'd rather slide down a razor blade into a pool of alcohol than to come on my page, European American woman, and tell me how I should think, how I should speak, how I should feel. European American women like you also are the cause of white exhaustion. And you are the only thing worse than an outwardly racist European American woman, because you think you're not racist. Your people waged a war centuries ago, ever since you genetically mutated, that carries on to this day, and you think somehow in your lily white mind you have the power to determine the rules of engagement on my part? And then the absolute fucking cave-dwelling audacity to use the word we as if you and I and the rest of us are somehow in this together. And when called out about it, and my followers told you to go to your people and have this conversation, you say that you do. You are aware that you can track comments on this app, right? And nowhere, and I do mean absolutely nowhere, do I find you, my dear, calling out your own people for their racism. I suggest you find a safe space, because this ain't it.
Someone call the morgue, because that Karen is done. Half of me is terrified, and the other half is like, yeah, black power.
Well, damn. So if black fatigue is in regards to what white people are sick of looking at, then what this young lady just expressed, my sentiments exactly. My sentiments exactly. So again, and we got some comments in here. Red Lipstick says, I'm tired of the 304s and Pookie behavior. Exactly. I'm tired of it being demonstrated. I'm tired of it being marketed. I'm tired of people choosing to consume this product. But as long as there's a market for it, and now we got a perpetual wheel turning, so to speak, that was engineered and created by the Edomites, and we accepted it, took it in, normalized it. So it's just like most topics that this space goes over. I truly believe that the ultimate goal, I mean, we want everyone to make adjustments in their lives and their behaviors, to be more, to have a healthy, to be healthy physically, to be healthy mentally, to raise healthy families and communities. But the fact is, everyone is not on board. A lot of people like it is. Thus, the only thing we can truly hope for is for one person to think about what they doing or not doing. Look in the mirror, self-examine yourself, and then make the appropriate adjustments. But it can be strongly assumed that this is going to be around until the Most High come back, and then you don't have a choice, because the market won't be there. Those who engineer the market will not be there. The behavior will not even be part of your genetics anymore, not even in your spirit anymore. It won't even be a thought anymore. That goes off into another area of thought. So right now we're gonna switch gears. We're gonna go into the Snatch Shenanigans segment of the show. Let me cue it up for you. This happened approximately a month ago in Philadelphia. Let me take care of the owner thing. Everybody get their funky little flowers so they don't be saying that we that's taken care of. Hope I spelled that correctly. Let me look at that again. It look like one L. Yeah. Thought it looked strange. All right, let's go ahead and check it out.
Murder mystery tonight out of Roxborough, where a woman is accused of killing her husband. His body found lying on a plastic tarp outside. Chris, what can you tell us about the investigation?
Well, Sheba, Danielle Jackson remains in jail tonight, charged with the murder of her husband, found dead outside of her Roxborough home last week. Tonight, we're learning new details about that murder that has shocked the neighborhood. Jordan Baxter, seen here on a GoFundMe site, found dead of a gunshot wound to the back of the head last Wednesday. The body of the 38-year-old father of three found on a tarp between two parked cars and a gun on his chest. The early morning scene stunning neighbors along the 800 block of Bells Mill Road in the Andorra section of Roxborough. A day later, his wife, 39-year-old Danielle Baxter, was arrested and charged with murder. It's believed Jordan Baxter was shot inside the home and then drug outside. A neighbor told Fox 29 the couple had been separated and Jordan Baxter wasn't living there. So far, police have not released a motive. In a statement tonight, SEPTA says it is saddened by the tragic loss of Jordan Baxter, who was a veteran regional rail engineer. Our thoughts and prayers are with his loved ones at this time. A GoFundMe site has also been set up by family and friends to help cover his funeral costs. Now, Danielle Baxter was denied bail pending her preliminary court hearing, which happens on April 8th.
All right, Baxter. You are recognized as a shenanigan. You made this snatch shenanigans on Surreal Sundays. Congratulations. Epic fail for you. Yes, indeed. Epic fail for you. Take a good look at this evil right here. All right. Next up.
Or heated. So
got
let's just do it deep.
There was something else that Eric Bird had came up with right after I had chose this. But we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna look for the other one because it was something else that was very interesting that I thought was cool to bring up this week. So we're gonna go ahead go over this turmeric. It's good for virtually everything.
Turmeric. If someone were to truly, objectively evaluate turmeric, okay, I don't think there's one condition, one health problem that you couldn't find some benefit from taking this right here. It's amazing. I've been growing turmeric for the last 9 months, and I finally harvested it, and my wife and I are eating it. We're just chewing it. It's like an aromatic carrot. It's not very strong, but boy, does this have some serious potent properties. But first, let me talk about how to increase the bioavailability of turmeric. Now, anytime you take turmeric in a supplement, I highly recommend you don't take it in the curcumin extract only. You want the whole plant because curcumin is only one of many, and I'm talking about thousands of different phytonutrients in turmeric. So if you get something that says curcumin extract, also make sure it comes with the turmeric powder. or you could just, like I said before, chew the whole thing. Number 2, black pepper or white pepper will help you increase the absorption by roughly 2,000%. The white pepper actually increases the absorption a little bit better, but they're both pretty similar. Now, what you could do if you're going to take a supplement or just consume this, you can just take a black peppercorn or a white peppercorn and just swallow it. That will help. And thirdly, add some fat at the same time you're consuming it. The question is why? Because a lot of these phytonutrients, including curcumin, are fat soluble. So in order to better absorb them, you need some fat. You can do ghee, you can do butter, MCT oil, coconut oil, olive oil, any of the fats, just a little bit. Now, the other thing to know is that these phytonutrients are a bit heat sensitive. So if you're gonna put them in your foods, chances are they're not gonna be as potent. The other point is, if you get a supplement with turmeric or the curcumin extract, make sure you get the one that's freeze-dried, because freeze-dried allows for these enzymes to be activated. So they're in a state that's dormant, but they're not overly processed or heated. So let's just do a deep dive into what this stuff actually can do for your body. Out of all the plants, I would imagine that turmeric is right at the very top as far as the number of studies that were done on this. I'm talking about double-blinded, placebo-controlled studies on all sorts of things. The 2 big areas of research for turmeric are, number 1, inflammation, and number 2, cancer. And the amazing thing about turmeric is that it has virtually no side effects. There's been no deaths, no serious side effects, maybe some slight digestive problems if you have too much. But even at high doses, there's no major serious side effects like there are with medications. And they've compared a lot of different medications to turmeric, and turmeric keeps up with these medication effects. Okay, so let's start with antioxidant potential. It increases glutathione. It increases other antioxidant networks in your body by actually increasing your ability to activate these antioxidants. There are certain genes that turn on or turn off your antioxidants, and turmeric has the ability to turn them on to help fight off free radical damage that's involved with oxidation and inflammation. Turmeric also has potent effects for your brain and nervous system. It's been tested to show significant improvements in Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, other neurodegenerative disorders. It's also been shown to decrease the formation of plaquing in the brain. It has very potent cardiovascular effects in helping lowering blood pressure, decreasing lipids, helps slowing down the formation of plaquing in arterial sclerosis and clogged arteries. It also protects that inner lining of your arteries, the endothelial layer that is usually most vulnerable to inflammation. Now, from a microbe standpoint, turmeric is a powerful antimicrobial, antiviral, antibacterial, anti-candida, antifungal, antiparasitic, anti-H. pylori. So it's great to take if someone had an infection. It shows great benefits to dermatitis and many other skin problems, psoriasis. It's great for the liver too, to protect the liver against fat formation, fibrosis, which someone develops after they have inflammation in the liver. Because turmeric has very potent anti-inflammatory properties, it's going to slow down fibrosis. Certain things in turmeric also increase bile salts, and that gives you a whole cascade of improving digestion, increasing the fat-soluble vitamins. Turmeric helps support the gut mucosal lining, and that's really important to prevent autoimmune diseases, allergies, and immune deficiencies. Curcumin in turmeric directly targets the DNA to help protect the DNA against free radical damage, to help in the improvement and repair of DNA. It also helps the cells that are damaged commit suicide, and that's a good thing. It's called apoptosis, which is controlled cell death if there's a problem in the cell, which that right there can help lessen the risk for cancer. Curcumin also protects the cell if someone is taking chemo or radiation therapy, as well as increasing the effectiveness of that treatment. Turmeric also helps the endocrine system in many different ways. One big way is to make insulin more sensitive. So if someone has insulin resistance, as a pre-diabetic or a diabetic, it helps insulin become more sensitive. There's been quite a few studies, and I'm talking about like clinical trials that are double-blinded, placebo-controlled studies showing protection against a pre-diabetic going into a diabetic. Also, at the same time, diabetics taking this greatly reduce the complications from diabetes. So even though they have diabetes, they have a lot less side effects. Also, turmeric shows great therapeutic benefits in being an adaptogen, which is something to help you increase your tolerance against stress. This has also been used to help depression, anxiety, so it can help both mood disorders as well as cognitive disorders. But like I said before, cancer and inflammation are the two primary things that turmeric is known for. There's a lot of research in many different types of cancers, not only directly targeting the cancer, but inhibiting a lot of the mechanisms that are involved with cancer, including inhibiting angiogenesis, which is feeding blood flow to the cancer, countering some of the mechanisms that cancer and tumor cells use to suppress your own immune system. So it actually helps your cells prevent the cancer cell from surviving. And also in one study, they found curcumin inside a colon cancer cell, which means that somehow it ended up there, which is a good thing because now that can create some really cool effects. There's many different pathways involved with inflammation. And so curcumin seems to inhibit most of those pathways, which gives a very broad spectrum approach for inflammation. I'll include one study that shows all the different medications that work for inflammation and then how curcumin mimics a lot of these medications. And so curcumin is not actually a root, it's a rhizosome, which is kind of like the stem of a plant that lives underneath the soil to help protect it. And like I said before, it's not bad, but if you're not growing it, just go to the grocery store, go ahead and buy some organic and just eat 2 or 3 of these per day to prevent a lot of problems.
All right, so get some turmeric into your diet. If you don't like eating the raw plant, which is always the best way to consume or to get in the nutrients, the minerals, and the different properties that are in plants, such as coumarin, is to eat it raw. But if you don't want to eat it raw, Dr. Bird suggests to get it in a freeze-dried form. Okay? Freeze-dried. Next up is that hot video. Let me get that queued up for you. All right, enjoy.
They don't see the vision, they just see division. I said I'm working on my mission since I left the kitchen. I'm singing, they don't see the vision, they just see division. I said I'm working on my mission since I left the kitchen. I just put that ephod on my I just put that ephod on my chain. I just put that ephod on my I just put that ephod on my chain. All eyes on me, keep my soul from the depths. Heart turned so cold, felt a hole in my chest. Pressure is on, but guess who ain't gon' crack? Satan's desire, so can't turn my back. Got lost in the evil, got lost in the pain. Got lost in the envy of fortune and fame. Lost myself, trying not to change. Can I lose this evil and dirt on my name? Secret place of the Most High. Seen so many fall, still asking God why. Why can't this old man just die? Guess my limit is the sky. Beam in my eye and my side. Burning with something to say. Burning, hope this ain't delayed. Fire surround me today. Adversity on the way. How much can a man take? Gotta show the world that I am great. Visions are leaving this place. They don't see the vision, they just see division. I said I'm working on my mission since I left the kitchen. I'm singing, they don't see the vision, they just see division. chain. I just put that E5 on my, I just put that E5 on my chain.
All right. That was Adam. See the vision. See the vision. See the vision. Get some stuff going on right quick. All right. Turn it down a little bit. All right. So tonight we went over Tory Lanez and Meg the male horse, the shenanigans. And it wasn't to glamorize or to in any form or fashion to present it as it was something to glamorize. And I say that because we just went over the topic of black fatigue and presenting the different dysfunctions that go on in our community as a form of entertainment. So it wasn't to do that. Okay? It's an unfortunate situation that is experienced by black men for a long time, you know. Lies, false statements, whether it was just to put out into the public to change public opinion about someone, or falsely reporting an incident to the police in order to get someone unjustly arrested. And convicted and serving a sentence, an unjust over something that they didn't do. So it's a sad situation in regards to that. But the main reason why I brought that out is to once again come back to something that I think is very important that we as a community need to really examine. A lot of the perils that we experience, we don't have to experience. There's a book of guidelines, a book of laws, statutes, and commandments that's available, readily available to everyone, at least in the US and most of the first world countries. Okay? If we was just to learn that and apply it, a lot of the BS that we experience, we will not. So we went over some laws, statutes, and commandments. So what Tory Lanez could have done to not experience what he's experiencing. Committing fornication, being a whoremonger. If he would have just had some discipline, discipline, he wouldn't be experiencing the perils that he's experiencing. Then we go over into the topic of black fatigue. How white people are tired of looking at our shenanigans within themselves, behave in the same manner. In addition to that, they've created, like I said, they created the venue, they created the stage, they created the training, then put us on stage to watch the show, and now they're tired of looking at the show. Then there's speech out there, or there's content out there that says, well, black fatigue is black people tired of black people. And the answer is yes to that. But then we want to add in that there's a distinction. There's black people and then there's ninjas. I got a couple of scripts that I want to bring out. Give me a moment. We're going to start off with Deuteronomy 28:15. But it shall come to pass that if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all of his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. And then it goes into the curses that we have been incurring since we have not been following the covenant that we agreed to. And so I go down to Deuteronomy 28, chapter 28, verse 37. And this is one of the curses. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whether the Lord shall lead thee. An astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations. Haven't we became that? Psalms chapter 44 and 14. Thou makest us a byword among the heathen, a shaking of the head among the people. So the shaking of the head, that's when the Edomites be looking at the stuff that they created ultimately and be like, you ninjas, right? This is what we have to understand as a people. Behold, I have taught you, this is Deuteronomy chapter 4, we're going to start with verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whether ye go to possess it. Keep, therefore, and do them, the law, statutes, and commandments. This is it right here. This will stop the black fatigue on all sides of the fence. Keep the law, statutes, and commandments, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. So, do with that as you may. but that's the cure. That's the cure. What else have you tried? You want to keep on trying to vote some equality in? Vote some respect in? Or do you want to create another Black Panther Party, i.e., what's the name of that group? Not giving a shit posse. They dress up just like the Black Panthers with a little, they're a militant group, not doing something, not giving a hoot. Somebody, I can't remember the name. Somebody in the chat, please put the name if you know what I'm talking about. You want to go down that route? You want to become a militant? You know they make the guns. None of us has a lathe or a mill, a lathe machine or a milling machine in our garage. They do. So even when Smith & Wesson start producing them, they can make it in their garage. But they can cut our supply or our access to them off. And what we have in our homes right now, that's it. But their guns is bigger on top of that. They got more of them. So you really want to go down that road? So it won't work for you politically because it hasn't been. It won't work for you militarily wise because the laws and the numbers are against you. We can't come together as a people because everybody got a different belief system. Somebody believe in Buddha, somebody believe in Allah, somebody believe in Jehovah, somebody believe in the Most High, somebody believe in a tree, somebody believe in the stars and fairy dust and shit and crystals. No one has came back to the law, statutes, and commandments as a whole. We have not done that. It might work. Thanks for dropping in, coming to check us out at Surreal Sundays. I'm your host, Old School Exit 9. Remember, you are your brothers and sisters' keeper. I check you out next Sunday. Until then, be safe, take care of one another. Peace.
Make sure you get in. Can't let your guard down. Better not let God down. You just can't back out, cause it getting hard now. You know you built for this. Just might get killed for this. It's gonna pay off in the end. Just make sure you get in. It's your spirit warring with your flesh, trying to get the best of you. It's all in your head and in your mind. Can't let it mess with you. Trials and tribulation, that's every day. That's what we go through. Are you gonna face it? Stand up like a man. Tell me what you gonna do. No more complaining. Gotta walk blameless. Gotta be humble. You might not get famous. We let your guard down. Better not let God down. You just can't back out, cause it getting hard now. You know you built for this. Just might get killed for this. It's gonna pay off in the end. Make sure you get in. Can't let your guard down. Better not let God down. You just can't back out, cause it getting hard now. You know you built for this. Just might get killed for this. It's gonna pay off in the end. Just make sure you get in.
I'm standing up, I'm standing tall, ain't laying down, cause I'm standing on it. Oppression make a grown man mad, make you cry, don't it? I pray to God that life so hard, so I'm calling on ya. I gotta endure until the end, I know they counting on me. Just got some bad news, damn, man, they killed my homie. Hit him 9 times, he never saw it coming. Remember the last time, I think I saw you, bruh. Gave you a fire with the knowledge.